Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Link to Fest Randomizer League. Here for us today, we have Team Tile Roomies versus Team Perfect Unadulterated Gaming Squad. Here with PlasmaKappa representing Team Tile Roomies and Andy representing in Team Pugs. This is a our pendant of power match between these two team members, and the mode that was selected by our higher seeded players was Hard Item Pool Enemizer. How is it going, folks? I am Wolfling0370, and joining me in the mic, how is it going?
It's going good. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun here with the final restream of the year for SG and final restream for the league as well. So we've got here, as I said, a Tyrone's perfect unadulterated gaming squad. Perfect unadulterated. Oh, let's call them Pugs. They were, I believe, they were the top team in the league this season. It was between them and Divine Beastie Boys. They defeated Team Hime in round one. Meanwhile, Tyler Rumi's defeated Last Locationeers in a 3-2 series, 3-1 for the other series. And here they are for the second round. Pugs are up 1-0. Daaanty defeated Jay Misher in the first game. So that's what we have going into game two.
Yes, and the players of Wisdom have yet to compete. They will be competing tomorrow, which, hey, if you're watching this live on Twitch, Happy New Year, everyone, because we're going to be going into T22 here shortly as we get started here with this race. And yes, Team Pugs was 11-3. They were third overall across all divisions.
Okay.
Top Memories, meanwhile, they were fourth in the Kakarika division, which Pugs were also part of. So, a small uphill battle, but nonetheless does not speak too much of the skill for these runners. As we see our map check here, we have a pendant in the Eastern Palace.
Speaking of the last time these two teams met up, they met up in week 5, Swordless Week. Andy faced Jay Misher and took that match. Meanwhile, PlasmaKappa faced Daaanty and won that one. PlasmaKappa won that one. So these two teams split their week 5 matchup.
So should be well balanced. And that is a bow. And now we should talk about hard enemizer here a little bit here, because I believe one of the things we have is less safeties as we are playing with the hard item pool, not the functionality, to be clear, just the item pool. So I believe there's only one bow available. And if pod is required, we need to get that bow. We might even need it for... Actually, no, we need it for GT even, unless we do Mythical. Oh, never mind. There's another bow right there. I am mistaken.
I was about to say, yeah, there's two bows. There's still two bows in the pool, but there you go.
Right, I think... Oh, man, it's... it's been so long since I did hard item pool that I forget all the changes here. But the general rule of thumb is there's going to be less health and less safeties overall.
So yeah, there's probably a moment of existential dread for Kappa, having to figure out what to do about that bow, and then completely relieved.
Yeah, so very likely it's going to be a serverless fight going into Ganon here. I doubt our runners are going to do Aghanim 1 just for silvers.
They can't anymore at this point anyway. Since this hard item pool, that bow will just turn into 20 rupees.
Ah, 2 items placed, only one bow. Gotcha. Okay. I forgot about the progression thing rule. That's what threw me off, I think. There's a glove, though, from Andy. And the fish. This is actually something you can do in Enemizer, and you can see that he just got 22 rupees, full magic, 8 bombs, and 10 arrows, all for that one singular fish. That's actually kind of a boon you can have in Enemizer. Is that fish spawn's close enough, you can walk it pretty quickly. Normally you have to walk all the way from where the dam is. At the very closest spot.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to keep in mind for Enemizer. Getting some money down here. It looks like that's about it.
Right. Now, in terms of the Enemizer, folks, you can see the enemies are shoveled. We also have a boss shovel going on. Now, I believe we are playing under the full boss shovel like we did in our previous group stage week. So that means there are all the bosses shuffled, and any 3 bosses can show up a second time. Now, this does change the logic of Thieves Town a bit, because you can just go straight to the boss. Also, compasses have additional functionality, so if we find them, we can check to see what the boss we're about to fight is. Which can be helpful, because if it's a Trinex or something and we don't have the items for it, we don't have to worry about that. And there's just a pile of 20 rupees there. I believe that would have been a shield, I think, because I don't think we're allowed shields in this
It
in
could have
Hard
been a
Item
shield
Pool.
or armor.
I thought we were at least allowed blue mail, but whatever. We have a sword now.
Yeah, and Andy picked up hookshot from the back of Escape. Hookshot is very nice to have because it's some defense against bosses. Now you don't have to worry about an Argus showing up.
Oh, Chicken House is now a guardhouse. And we are seeing the dam here from Andy, meanwhile.
Check kind of correcting it. We can still get shields in this mode, so that was most likely armor. We might have actually seen both armor upgrades.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't entirely sure. Like, we had that modified hard item pool a while back, so I'm kind of thrown off by that. There's our Moon Pearl, though, at the back of the bar. And I believe that's our Ice Rod right there, isn't it? Yeah.
Looks like it's like it's tough to tell from the tip, unfortunately.
Quick peek at the library. Doesn't look like there was nothing there of note. Andy gonna take a walk over here to scout the desert ledge, which is only 20 rupees. And then random Stalfo showing up from who knows where. Lots of mixed up enemies here in the desert. Or we have a thief, which are killable, thankfully. I believe we had some baboosas in the desert area. Those little shadow enemies. They're kind of annoying to deal with.
Yeah, so we've seen quite a bit so far, but still kind of looking for those pieces to Dark World. We got the Moon Pearl, that's about it. Oh, yeah, I guess we have a glove too. So looking for that hammer or another glove. Mini Moldorm Cave is still a pretty likely possibility, which looks like that's where Andy's going next. Ice Rod Cave as well. I guess Zora is also in Logic because a glove is in Logic, so that's a possibility.
And we had a question about the sprites earlier in chat, and I don't know what Kappa's sprite is, but I know Andy's using his traditional pug.
According to chat, it's from F14, and if it's the character I think of, that's a pretty big spoiler. But I think that expansion's been out for a while, so I don't know if spoilers really count anymore.
I wouldn't know it either just from appearance, so I think it's fine. Red Boomerang, the flute, meanwhile, 100 rupees. Heart Container, and finally, the Titan's Mitts. There is our Dark World access. Well, for cumulatively, at least. Andy still has to get the Moon Pearl from Kakariko.
So, yep, as I said, that's Darkworld access, but it's kind of the what I consider the bad Darkworld access because only an access point from the from Kakariko, which can be rough. And the hammer can end up being in some annoying spots.
Yeah, and that doesn't completely rule out Aghanim here. We still have the niche chance. Oh my goodness, this basement. Where was I? Yeah, but you still have the niche chance that the flippers and the hammer can both be on East Side Dark World, which they can do like the kern jump to skip, but logically speaking, that would put Aghanim in logic.
So yeah, we're kind of just watching these runners retrace each other's steps right now. And give out a shout out to our tracker, Evelyn, doing all the button pushing behind the background.
Yeah, it is not an easy task as someone who has done it in the past. Tracker likes to eat input sometimes even. But food coming online now for PlasmaKappa. We'll probably be seeing a Death Mountain play with the Paradox Cave and that hookshot.
And that one glove being in the front of escape could elude Kappa for a bit, but it also depends on if that's going to lock us out of Darkhold access or not.
Yeah, we shall see. PlasmaKappa opting to do fake flippers, but oh my! I don't know how he's still in that state.
I guess he didn't take damage.
I guess. I thought you got knocked back by the thief guard, or at least entered a hurt state. That was, I think that's some incredible luck on PlasmaKappa's end. I think he might should have, yeah, he should have gone down there. All right. So we're gonna see Sora here. Andy, meanwhile, is clearing up Kakariko. There's that random Beamos there. Hopefully, he doesn't get sniped. And King Zora pays us with a heart piece. I believe those are still kind of useful, but not as useful here in this because they only give us a refill.
Yeah, I think in this mode, if I remember correctly, there are 6 heart containers you can get, as well as 20 heart pieces, for a total of 14 hearts.
That sounds about right to me, yeah. And 14 hearts is how much you would have in an NMG run. So, well, if you're doing a standard 90% route, I would think. They still have to be careful because a lot of minis can do multitudes of hearts of damage. Change House in particular, I believe, can do at least 5, and Ganon can do a whole 8 if you're not careful with his contact damage. So they do want to get some help, but they don't want to spend too much time looking for it.
And more often than not in this mode, you'll just find it on the way as usual.
Yeah. Anyway, here we go with Paradise Cave. The lower side has a heart piece and 300 rupees. Good build back from King Zora not paying out too much. Let's see what the top side has, or bottom side? Details. That's why it's called Paradise Cave. And there's our shield. I didn't see what's on Spec Rock Cave. Nothing else here to of note in Paradise Cave. Yeah, it's only a few bits and pieces of money.
Hmm. So yeah, it's looking like that glove in Escape is intended to get early for Darkhold access. Unless there's something sitting at Saha or Eastern.
Could be. We do have the bow to take on Eastern Palace, but it is a pendant, so it's probably putting a little less importance on that dungeon.
Although it is worth remembering too that you don't. I don't believe you don't. You technically don't need the bow in this mode to clear it. I always try to remember if you need it logically or not, but I think you do. But technically, you don't.
Yes, that is correct. How? So it's logically required, but you don't necessarily need it. To clarify for anyone who may be watching this for the first time, how the Enemizer works is that the item pool gets shuffled first and foremost. So everything that's logic locked is there. And then the enemies get shuffled with some extra checks to be put in place to prevent and red Igors from being in rooms they're not supposed to be, to add extra bow checks. So you will never see red mimics or red Igors in kill rooms. And the bow is still logically required to get past rooms that should normally have them, but you don't necessarily need it for the enemies in there.
Oh. Kappa found the lamp, and good thing he did, because this looks like a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, this is kind of a thing with the Old Man Rescue. Those are normally 6 keys there, and while they are not necessarily a threat, the enemies that spawn in their place are.
So more money. Have they found at least 4 of the 300 packs? So they might have found all 5. I'm trying to remember. 4. They
Yeah,
found 4 or 5 of the 300 packs at this point. Rupees are not affected by the Enemizer pool at all.
yeah, we'll see. Here we go, our map check. Pod and Swamp are our other 2 pendants, with Swamp being the green pendant. I missed where our red crystals were, but they're both in Dark World, I believe.
They are. I missed them as well.
We're getting confirmation in chat that it's Thieves and TR, or Ice and TTE, that is our 5-6. So Fire Run would be necessary for progression in those. Oh, I keep saying Fire Run might be required for. Oh, no, that is correct. Man, it's hard to keep track of the fact that we have to have item requirements for the dungeons, and then we also have to keep in mind that the dungeons might have additional requirements because of there could be a random Trinex in one of these dungeons or something. First look at Eastern Palace coming up here from PlasmaKappa, though.
See, Bombos needed for TR. At this point, if they get a Fire Rod, they should be protected against all bosses.
Yeah, but the only one I can think of that would be kind of an issue would be Helmasaur King at one of the Moldrum spots. Which, that is something we haven't talked about yet. There is a small restriction. Wow, we have Fire Shield? Hello. But yeah, there is a small restriction on where bosses can show up in certain arenas. For example, the Maulfield arena is just too small for Trinex, so he's banned from being in there. And Boulder's arenas are so awkward that half the bosses just don't work. So we only can have a limited amount of bosses show up there at any given point.
Oh, looks like Andy found the boots. I'm guessing those were in Hookshot Cave.
Huge fight for Andy. And with Swamp not being necessarily required, Andy could hover his way past Moldorm 2 spot, but it could additionally be a boss that says no. In fact, we can see the boss here of Eastern Palace if PlasmaKappa decides to check the map, but I don't think he's going to
Yes,
commit to it.
yes, check the map. It's Moldorm in here.
Ah, it's Moldorm. Okay. Now, we should also mention that Enemizer has some really unique perks with changing where the bosses are. Uh, First and foremost, Moldorm is a prime example. You can just have a random amount of eyes. It's kind of silly.
Yep, and there's the 20 rupee replacement for the bow. Andy will never know that was a bow until we tell him later. Kappa will, though. Kappa will know where both bows are because he saw them before grabbing one.
Harvest Knight guarding the switch here. There's our map.
And Kappa's going to finish this. Yeah, that uncle play is really giving Andy a head start in this one. Trying to find the key. There it is. Andy's going to go check Zora's. Oh, he's going to check Hobo.
Yeah, now we'll see what we got here. That's just a wow. That Beals could have sniped him. And it's just a two-eye Moldarm here in Eastern Palace this time. Very aggressive fight, but without any pits, Moldarm is kind of a joke.
Ooh, I think Andy just saw.
Oh, yeah, and he's soft locked. He'll be able to reset out of this, but he'll be stuck here for a little bit. Because he has to get back to where the game has to get him back to where he was, I believe. That is not too uncommon to see with the Enemizer placement, because enemies can just be incredibly rude to you. Now, was it actually the thief that set him off on like that? I was not paying attention, admittedly.
I don't know. Pretty sure he's running back from Hobo. So
Might have been the BMOS then. I don't know. Ah, it was a spike. Like traffic. Okay. So Kevin now entering Hyrule Castle will be picking up his Titan Smiths here, as Andy is heading into Dark World for the first time, I believe. Well, lower Dark World.
it does look like you have to come this way and try to find the hammer from the Dark World somewhere.
Yeah, we'll see. Andy hopefully not having any sort of reaction to that accidental soft lock with the flippers, fake flippers there, and will hopefully keep his head on straight as he goes through Skull Woods here. Yeah, they've fallen in that pit there. Kevin Manuel on his way to the gloves. I believe they are in the boomerang chest. There's the big key to Skull Woods. That's not required, but he can at least full clear the front here.
Fire Rod is still required for this dungeon since it is a requirement for the dungeon itself and not the enemies in the dungeon.
All right.
Seeing Andy stunning enemies, I want to see what the stun prize is. He stuns them but doesn't kill them.
Just wants to get him out of the way, which makes some sense. A lot of Babusas and a Gibdo here. As we find the magic powder, not a bad item to have. It's a good safety. Although I believe No, hard item functionality is off, as we mentioned, so they will still turn into fairies when you use it.
Correct.
And Compass is Fire Rod lock, so no scouting the boss just yet for Andy there in Skull Woods.
That was into the Dark World with those mitts. The mitts didn't really hurt him that much, but it's going to be the boots that are going to hurt him for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's going to hurt for a lot longer still, because when do you go up the Death Mountain after doing the front half of all the checks there? More likely
Probably,
than not when you have Hera, right? Sorry, didn't mean to cut
yeah, I
you
was going to say,
off.
probably when you get to go to Hera, that's going to be probably your next best chance.
So we're going to hope that Kappa finds a quick mirror or the hammer here shortly. And there's our 5-6, Thieves Town and Ice Palace. Ice Palace, ironically enough, is it's Vanilla Crystal 5, so... Alright, so there's going to be a lot of lag here in Thieves Town as we get our first look at items here.
Oh, I see what Andy was trying to do there, and unfortunately, yeah. But he did have a fairy in a bottle. Not which you probably wanted to use right now, but...
Yeah. I think the main advantage was Andy doing Eastern so early, or not Eastern, Hyrule Castle so early, because that's where the gloves were, which meant that when PlasmaKappa went up there, he could only do the Light World side of Death Mountain with Paradise Cave, whereas Andy could just do both sides and got rewarded with the boots, which were in Hookshot Cave. So it may be quite a while yet for Kappa to get those, and we're gonna hope that he can keep pace here.
So Andy's going to the back. He'll have a decision to make. I believe there's two items back here, and there's also the small key and the compass. And I think he's going to take the boss run right away, which
It's
can kill.
Vitreous.
Yeah, this is beatable, but it's going to take a bit.
And
Andy's
using the
using a
arrows
lot.
as much as possible.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going to hold on to 8, but no, he's not. He's just going to use arrows up on the eyeballs, and now he's always got left on the big one, and then a bunch of spins.
Yeah, because he has to spin attack here, folks, as a reminder. Most bosses, with like a few exceptions, do not take damage from the Master Sword if they are of the Dark World variety. I think the only boss that takes Fighter Sword level damage is Blind, in fact. But his health has a unique rule to it.
I think Moth also does take fighter sword damage.
And PlasmaKappa taking a death there. Andy, meanwhile, very cleanly killing this Vitreous fight. Getting 20 rupees for his reward. And the first of the crystals of this match. PlasmaKappa is coming down to check the digging game.
If runners doing digging first, they will have the option to pick up the smith. Depends on if they want to do mirrorless smith or not.
Ooh, that was not worth the time invested. It was, I believe, 24 digs I counted before that harpy showed up.
Kappa is going to take the smith. And so is Andy.
Yeah, they're gonna do a little bit of a Frog World tour here.
Little tour because they're pretty much going to be ending at Hype Cave. With no hammer, no flippers, you technically can't get to East Dark World yet.
True. And as I mentioned previously, that could be a factor if both of them are in fact over in East Darkworld. This could be an Agnum scene and we just don't know it yet. Now, granted, current jump exists, so they can easily bypass it if they know how to do it, which I expect both of these runners to know it.
Yeah,
But logically speaking, it would be required.
I think most runners at this point, at least in the Invitational, know that jump.
Anyway, Hype Cave coming up here. Let's see what we got. First up, 20 rupees. And then a heart container. The Book of Medora, a heart piece, and there's our fire rod.
That's interesting. Okay. You have a fully completable desert, I believe.
Yeah, it's fully completable. Don't have to worry about the boss. We have everything we need for combat, except for maybe the hammer and maybe another sword or two. And speaking of which, if we find the hammer, I believe logically we need the flippers for go mode. We still need to find bombos and medallion pending still for Misery Mire. So we're not going to be quite in go mode just yet, but in terms of bosses, we can kill anyone that shows up.
So let's see what Kappa does. And he's going for deserts. This could cost him time if this desert is boots locked.
But he's not doing desert just yet. He's doing the Mire area first, which makes a little bit more sense. Andy meanwhile looks to be finishing the Smith chain. Lionel's in Mire, kind of scary. And we will need Ether to enter Misery Mire. So the one medallion we have is not useful. Par for the course in randomizer, honestly.
Andy's going straight for Dark Death Mountain. Or not Dark Death Mountain, sorry. What am I thinking? Well, actually, Kappa's going for Dark Death Mountain.
This is good.
Andy's going for the Skull Woodback.
Yeah, this is what PlasmaKappa doesn't know it, but he's going to be getting his boots here shortly. Meanwhile, Andy is going to be fighting whoever is at the boss of Skull Woods. And like I said, there are a few restrictions here, but not that many. I believe it's only Trinex. Any other boss can show up. And I may have some bias here, but I would like to see Helpless Gang, please. Please, Randomizer, can you give us that? I have not seen one at all during this tournament.
Let's end 2022 with a helicopter.
Please, let's do it, yes.
What do we get? We get helicopter!
Yay! Look at his tail go!
This is definitely going to be this is going to be a tough fight. Andy had 5 bombs dropping, and he's got to make every bomb count.
Yeah, he's doing kamikaze stress here. Thankfully, the tail is going to stay permanently glitched out. I don't think the Helpless King can use the tail as an attack.
Yeah, that tail is not gonna fix itself. So just gotta worry about the fireballs and Helma's own charges. Yeah, and he's just taking the bomb damage to make sure he gets the mask hits and the masks down.
Yeah, otherwise, a very smart decision here. And here we go, PlasmaKappa getting the hook shot here and is now in to Hookshot Cave. And there they are. There are the boots in the central chest.
And he's playing this very safely because Helmet Star is going to do 2 arts of damage.
Yeah, we have to be very careful here. I just glided this helicopter. Oh, the spikes.
Spike Hit will take him out in 2 now, but it's down.
Well fought by Andy. That is not an easy fight without a hammer in this arena. Well done. Second crystal rather of the match for him. Getting thrown off by Skullwood, still being marked by Moth. Excellent fight. Well done.
Oh, we're still running out of options a little bit, though.
We are. Desert seems like a viable play now, in my mind. I believe both runners are going to be checking Ice Arcade. Neither runner has done that yet. Although Andy's out of bombs, so hopefully he's going to get a 50-50 here.
Andy already checked Ice Rod Cave. I think Andy's just setting up a water walk.
Ah, okay.
Because Andy wants to go check Zora area, but after what happened the first time, I think he wants the speed, so he doesn't have to worry about the enemies as much.
That's understandable. I think Cap is doing the same.
Kappa,
But he got hit.
Kappa already checked Zora. This might just be a hobo play for Kappa. Was that the hammer on the floating on the island?
Which means we need flippers for that. Yeah, there it is. Hammer on floating island.
Oh yeah, that's flipper locked and mirror locked.
Which tells us that it was also required by Dark World. So that means we weren't getting the easy way into Dark World access. That also shifts the requirements slightly so that we need flippers, and only flippers can get us over to East Dark World right now. This could very well be an Aghanim 1C just for East Dark World access.
Now, interestingly enough, if they find the mirror and they can set this up, you can get the hammer without the flippers, but it requires it's a minor glitch, but it's a pretty significant one to pull off.
Yeah, setting up a fake flipper in Dark World is not an easy thing.
It's not even a fake flipper. You have to set up a water walk.
Oh, you're talking about the the water wall from Skull Woods.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, that would be an option. So, yeah, that could come into play. You're right.
Especially with Swamp being a pendant. Like, if you can avoid the flippers, you'd probably take it.
Possibly.
But I definitely think this comes up more if we see the mirror before the flippers. If we see the flippers first, obviously, then it's all moot. And you probably want the flippers before the mirror just because the mirror would open up so much, just so many places for those flippers to be.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this might be an Aghanim seed. I just had that gut instinct telling me that. Because there's so many items over in Pod. One of them could easily just be the flippers.
It's worth remembering too, though, they can't even get to Aga yet. They need a second sword or the cape.
That is also true.
Now we talk about Aga, but we know most likely these runners are not doing Aga. Oh, there's the mirror.
Okay. Mirror found. So we still need to find the other two medallions for a go mode scenario. And we'll see if Kappa is going to do this. It looks like Kappa's at least going to set up for uh backdooring desert here and checking checkerboard.
Yeah, yeah. Cap was going to set up to check checkerboard after this. I don't believe we got a compass, so not gonna know what boss we're gonna see until we get to it.
Yeah, the compass is on the boss here, so that is a little unfortunate, but leaves us in suspense. Any boss can be here though, so we'll have to stay on our toes here.
I think that any boss is beatable. It's just more a question of how how long will it take to beat the boss.
A picket stealing an arrow, but you
Now,
don't want to see that.
I think Andy's gonna do exactly what I suggested.
Yeah, Andy is going to do the hover dash or the hover locks setup here. It's a very long distance to travel for A clippers, so hopefully he gets it. He's got the water walk stored right now. He's got to be really careful of how he gets there, but if he does this right, he'll be able to go straight to the lake.
Yeah, but getting that full magic, because if this is a cold series, he's gonna need it. And he's got the water walk.
And it is a Trinex here at Desert Palace. And Kappa is going to nope out, and I do not blame him with just a fighter sword. Or he most likely does not have enough magic here to get through the first phase.
Yeah. And Andy pulls off that water walk, he's got the hammer.
A single rupee there in Checkerboard Cave, meanwhile. So it's medallions and go now for Andy, but he does still need to find another sword as well. I almost forgot about that. Ganon does not take damage from the fighter sword. You need to find at minimum a master sword, and even then, it's only going to be spins that deal damage. So ideally, you want to find the tempered sword if you can, especially when we don't have silvers available to us and because of the hard mode item pool. Andy here going to be entering in the back of the desert. We know this is a Trinex, and unlike Kappa, does have the hair, so this will be a little bit more manageable to deal with.
Now, is Kappa gonna go clear Skull Woods or set up the water walk as well?
Possibly. He hasn't done Skullwoods yet, so he might check the area first.
Yeah, he's gonna set up the water walk as well.
This, I think, is the correct play from PlasmaKappa because he's very aware of that Andy might have already done this.
I
And
will
one
say,
head down.
oh yeah, I will say that if Swamp was a crystal, I might not be as inclined to do this just because just to somewhat stay in logic. But with Swamp a pendant, I definitely agree with it.
Yeah, it does make some sense for them to hold off on that. Anyway, try next down for Andy. Let's see what his prize is. Yeah, of course, it's the compass. What am I talking about? I mentioned that like what, like 10 minutes ago, even now.
Not quite that far though, but yeah.
And you're now heading over to food spot 8, looking to maybe set up another water walk.
I think he keeps wanting to go to Zor area and keeps getting distracted with other things. It looks like a Hera play.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And this might be Ice Palace for Kappa.
A pretty interesting play here from Kappas, you're right. Green pendant, meanwhile, or green potion found for Andy, and we're gonna see what Ether has for us. It is just 3 bombs. So both runners opted to do a different dungeon next. Andy favoring going for the other 5/6 crystal. Oh no, actually no. PlasmaKappa is doing that. Andy meanwhile is going into Hera, which only has 2 items, but is a little out of the way. And we have a cold stare all the way at the top of the Tower of Hera.
So you gotta hold on to all that magic for this. And he does have that green potion he just picked up at least, so we'll have that for phase 2.
Yeah, now unfortunately we only haven't seen an item yet, and there is one in the tile room basement, and one on the boss. So not a great item layout here for Tower Hera, but we'll have to deal. It might be important to get that item too. For all we know, it's another sword, or one of our other 2 medallions.
Now, Kappa did do a map check as well, and we have our second Moldorm in Ice. I gotta pop that green potion and do more fire rod shots. Try to keep them grouped up as long as you can.
The small hole in the center of the arena here makes that pretty easy, and there we go. 2 puffs down. Just needs to be really careful here about the ice. And there we go. Cold stare down. And at this roughly the same time, both our runners finding a pack of 3 bombs. But that is crystal number 3 for. Oh no, not even crystal number 3. Crystal number 4 for Andy. Bug net found meanwhile for PlasmaKappa. Nice safety to have, although not necessarily too helpful. And you going back in for that last item.
Kappa, meanwhile, still no crystals done. He's been in several dungeons, just hasn't completed them. And right now, that's kind of working against Kappa a little bit because even though he doesn't have a lot of time to spend on some of these, um, it puts him squarely behind Andy.
Yeah, this is probably kind of what the advantage is here for Andy. This is again in one of the modes that the higher seed can pick. So Andy definitely playing into his strengths here, and maybe into PlasmaKappa's weaknesses, which is why we're seeing Kappa struggle here a little bit. But if it goes to game 4, then the lower team will get a chance to pick their own settings and potentially swing it back around. And wow, we've had some relatively normal mold arms. That's surprising.
I think all the multiple coded the same number of eyes on a seed. One thing I'm going to point out too, if you haven't played Enemizer, is you'll notice the runners position themselves in the middle of the room after they kill the boss. That's because to prevent an item from falling out of bounds, the item will always fall in the center of the room whenever any Enemizer functions are on. Oh, that's an ether fine for Andy.
And that was in tile room, so that is the required tile room basement. Wow.
Spike cave.
Oh, spike cave even. Wow.
So Andy potentially a Bombos from Go mode.
Not just yet. He still needs to find another sword. He's still on fighter.
That's true.
But if we get into Turtle Rock, there might be a sword in there. We don't know yet.
You're basically a Bombos away from playing this like you're in Go mode.
We're a bumbles away from Andy being in sword mode, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, for right now, for Kappa to catch up, that Bombos has got to be somewhere rough, and Andy's got to put it off for a while. So yeah, Andy and Mire, 2 items here.
Lots of baboosas here. And a buzz blob. And our stone price is only a green rupee, it looks like.
Chat bringing up also an interesting point. We still don't know where flippers are. I do believe no, flippers can't be in Mire because Ether was hammerlocked. So flippers won't be in Mire.
Ah, you're right. So where are our flippers then? They might be in a mirror lock check.
Mirror lock is possible. We got purple chests. We've got graveyard ledge, K45. Those are all possibilities. As you mentioned, it could be an Agassiz to get to catfish or pod.
Or even on the pyramid.
Yeah, pyramid too. That's a possibility.
It can't be on Pyramid Fairy, though. The Ice Palace blocks that.
Oh, Magic Bat's another possibility.
Yeah, because we can mirror to get it behind the hammer stuff. You're right. A lot of places for these flippers to put us in logic, but ultimately we don't necessarily need it this seed because of what we've done.
Andy is being very thorough here, even though he got that early big key.
And Chad is also pointing out we still don't have actual Aghanim access. So based on what we've seen thus far, I think that Aghanim or our Dark World axe or our intended hammer access is mirror locked in some way. I just don't know exactly where. Because mirror is still available. That's the earliest point in the logic that it's still not broken.
So Andy does get an item in the big key chest, but not anything good. Meanwhile, round 2 of Helicopter.
Yeah, for those just now tuning in, we are talking about Eastern Palette. The Eastern Dark World is completely locked out to us. We do not have our hammer is flippers locked, and we have yet to find flippers. Hammer was at Lake Hylia Island. Our runners did the Skull Woods water walk setup in order to bypass the flippers requirement. And yep, second dose of helicopter here. Love to see it. I believe that is our first item here in Mire with the heart container.
That was the second piece of heart in the big key chest.
Okay.
So my guess for Andy is after he clears out Meyer, he's going to go for ice, which we know is nothing since Kappa's already done that.
Yeah, but it is still another Chris on the board.
Oh,
Oh,
we're
is
going
this
to
a
head
head
check.
check? This would be crazy. Oh!
Okay, there's a sword.
I don't think our runners are going to do all dungeons for Master Sword. Not unless they're absolutely desperate.
Also worth noting, it's not the intended sword to get to Aga because Pet is hammerlocked.
Correct.
Quick question. All 4 swords are still in the pool, but you can only get 3 of them.
And there's Armo's Knights at the victorious spot here in Mire, so that's one more boss down. We do have one duplicate confirmed in the form of Molder. We have 2 others still out there somewhere, though. And PlasmaKappa using the Skullwoods water walk again, I believe, and is now over in pod.
No, he just looted the 5.
Oh, you flew to 5? Okay.
Yeah, he's got.
Yeah, we have the hammer now. That's right. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
And Andy is going for his 5th water walk to go to Zora. I don't know which one we're at this point.
I don't know either. Logically, speaking, pod was Bollock, but once again, folks, as a reminder, Enemizer logic takes place after item logic, so there is not going to necessarily be any bow-locked enemies in any kill room. Because the Enemizer prevents them from spawning in there.
It looks like Andy was just setting up that water walk so he doesn't get bullied by the thief, which, to his credit, I didn't even know that the thief wouldn't knock you out of water walk state, so.
I mean, I thought Kappa got hit by it earlier and it didn't work,
I
so
just
I
thought
guess
Kappa get hit by it a second time, and yeah, it didn't knock him out.
weird. I guess Kappa got lucky then or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it has to be maybe the trigger only happens if you take actual damage. That'd be my guess.
I don't know, but this is a very daunting kill room for Ice Palace, full of Hinoxes, which take a lot of hits, but do die to a single bomb. But Andy's going to opt to keep his bomb safe. There's the compass, and there we go. There's our scout that it is the Molder here at Ice Palace. We already know this, of course, because Cap has done this dungeon. Big key chest of pod, meanwhile, is just a small key for keys available in the front half. And Kappa veering out. I did not see what he picked up just now. I actually looked away for just the briefest of moments.
In the basement.
Now, we've already checked Eastern Palace too, I believe.
Yeah, Kappa has Eastern done.
So yeah, this is just for pod here from PlasmaKappa.
That is a rude spike. At least you have Burna. I'm not sure if Kappa picked up. I think Burna was in Eastern.
Now, if we find flippers here in pod, then that just confirms that this was a logically required Agam seed. We have the mushroom there, though. And 3 Enochs down in the rupee basement.
Kappa counting his keys, knows that Hamaselwa is a small key.
And even while there, both runners are at 11 out of 14 hearts, so they've gotten pretty healthy this seed. Make that 12 for Kappa.
He's
Well,
got a pod. Okay.
yeah, pod's better to make sense. And he also is giving the big chest out of Ice Palace, most likely because he's fully aware of how many items are left in the dungeon, which is 0.
I think Kappa skipped it too.
Yeah, at that point they found their 2 set packs of 3 bombs, and I believe the third item was before then as well. So they knew that they had found all 3 items.
Okay, so that's Andy's 6th crystal, but we're still on a Bombos hunt, as well as a sword hunt.
Ether tablet, which we already know is 3 bombs.
Like, I feel like this sword area has eluded Andy for so long. He keeps wanting to go here and just keeps getting distracted by other stuff.
Oh, now he's going in here as PlasmaKappa is entering Tower of Hera. Which is good, because this is where Ether is.
Oh, all right.
Alright. So, someone bringing up a good point in chat. Pyriferi on Bombos would be very interesting to see, but at the same time, uh, that would mean we need to find the flippers at this point. Well, no, actually, we have the hammer. But yeah, if it's there, Andy can also just do it. And this Andy's starting to check his Kakariko village, so won't be staying out of there too long. I flinched. I saw the ramp also slightly frozen on Kappa's end.
Yeah, I think that's just one of the glitches of Enemizer.
All right, Magic Bat coming up. This could be flippers. Or it could be Bombus or Sword. And it's the flippers! So there's our logic. So
Now, if
we
you're
need to
Andy,
get them. So yeah, no, this wasn't an Agaseed. We
yeah.
need to get the mirror out of desert to mirror behind the magic bat with the powder from Skull Woods in order to get our flippers to get our hammer. So we're now completely back in logic.
Andy's going for swamp. Or no, he's going Pyramid Fairy. Never mind.
Because we needed the flippers and the mirror to get our hammer off of Lake Hylia Ledge. So We're all now back in sequence here. So we have the Super Golem. This could be Bombos, and we're now a sword and Bombos from Go mode without any sort of like extra checks to be made aware of. Andy doing some hook dashes.
You can get a first look at pyramid as well. A pyramid ledge.
And again, I completely missed it. But
Look,
Pyramid Fairy, meanwhile, nothing.
so catfish or it's a pod. This is pod. Okay. So this is going to give Kappa back some time if Andy's going for full clears of pod and Eastern.
Yeah, and unfortunately, at this point, I think it's safe to say that it's either Graveyard Ledge, K45, Purple Chest, or the more item dense play, the entirety of Swamp Palace for our two missing in Go mode items.
We actually have one item in the back of Thieves Town as well.
True. But I don't think our runners are going to invest that much time for a single item. I would say if there's any sort of item play to make, you go for the density, you go to Swamp. And he's doing a mirror bonk. I don't think that was intentional, but gets it back on track. Mushroom turning now for PlasmaKappa. This could be Bombos too. Nope, only 20 rupees. Gonna at least get another blue potion here.
It looks like pod and Eastern completely empty. Kappa heading back to the Village of Outcasts portal.
Probably a Thieves now play. He hasn't done that dungeon yet.
Yeah, this is probably a Thieves play. The question is, will he just kill Vidi and leave? Or is he going to do the fullback? In his mind, there's still two items here.
Oh, there's 4 even, because this is the other 5/6 crystal. He doesn't know what's that Pyramid Fairy.
That's true.
We did have Blue Cane in the first chest of Pod. Magic Cape, I don't know where it is. All right, Vitreous fight happening here.
He can't, unfortunately, spin with Burna on.
Now, in our item counts, did we find the map and compass as well for Pod when Kappa was in here earlier? I don't remember.
I don't remember our tracker saying compass on the pod boss.
Okay, so we don't know who the boss area of Pod is, but there's no point in fighting him for an item.
Yeah, there's no point because I mean, Kappa knows what's on Ped. It's a sword. And you're not clearing pendant dungeons for a sword.
No, the only way I'd see you clearing it is if we absolutely had the other swords in worse positions, like places you would never go to unless it's your last location. All right, that is another crystal for PlasmaKappa. That is his fourth. Desert and Mire still to fall. Whereas Andy here is just looking for that Bombos medallion to enter Turtle Rock, and then later another sword.
This is some new checks on Kappa's side. Hammer pegs.
We have not seen this yet. You're right. And he might transition this into checking Magic Bat, which will give him his flippers. Only 50 rubies?
Yeah, and he's going right into Eastern. Or nope. Might go turn in that mushroom.
No, flute to 3. Purple chest, maybe?
This is a ped check.
Okay, so Andy will also know that there's a sword in Ped. Yeah, honestly, this is a wise choice for Andy to do this now, so he makes sure that he knows this is not a Bombos on Ped seed and he needs to hustle. This is honestly a good decision on his part. So yeah, now he knows it's a sword. It's gonna, which they can ignore, I believe, because I believe there are still 4 swords in the item pool. But once you get your third, the fourth becomes a pile, the green pile of 20 rupees. So they can just safely ignore that sword on Ped.
So they're both heading to the 4 portal. I don't know if this is going to be mirror checks for Andy or Swamp. And Kappa also
This
puts
is
the option of a big bomb.
virtual high five here from both our runners. As Andy is in fact going to Swamp, whereas Kappa is going to check Super Bomb, which Andy has already done. Alright, so this is our first look at Swamp Palace. This is a dungeon both runners did not want to enter here, and they tried to avoid it. But the logic may have said otherwise. Let's see what's in here. First item compass, we can see what the boss is, and it is. I didn't quite catch that.
That's blind.
Oh, blind's in here. Alright.
I think I'm seeing more new checks from Kappa. I think we're going to see Graveyard Ledge right now.
Yeah, Graveyard Legend of Catfish seems to be the play here from PlasmaKappa. Might weave in Graveyard the King's Tomb as well, because I don't think he's done that yet either.
He has done King's Tomb. Right now, this race is really down to just who finds Bombos first. Andy's got a bit of a time lead, but right
Yes.
now, these runners are checking new stuff.
Yeah. First person to find Bombos here is going to be in a huge advantage position. And it will be Andy who finds it here inside Swamp Palace Big Chest. Andy is not in going mode yet, though, folks. He still needs a sword. which he may not find here in Swamp.
You can check these 3 chests because they're quick.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. Bee in a bottle, 10 arrows. Catfish check meanwhile. Is it the boomerang? Red rupees for Andy in the waterfall chest. No sword found in the back of Swamp. Could be left side, but he is going to bail and go to Turtle Rock immediately, it looks like. Yeah, he's just going to go into GT and TR and hope that there's a sword on the way.
Yeah, at this point, Kappa is pretty far behind. Still has to go finish off Desert, clear Mire, and then he still has to go into Swamp to get that Bombos.
Yeah, definitely the advantage goes to Andy here, which makes a bit of sense. I believe that, as I mentioned previously, the higher seed gets to play the settings here for the power match between in the playoffs. So Andy was the one who picked hard Enemizer here for the settings. So definitely playing to his strengths of being well seasoned in this game.
You also have to remember, this is not an elimination match. This is, Pugs are up 1-0, so game 3 is scheduled for, or the third game of the series is scheduled for tomorrow.
Which will be the first match of 2023 here for the league coming up. And there is another small pile of 20 rupees there. Most likely another shield, which honestly good. I don't think anyone would like to have the mirror shield. It could also be our half magic now that I think about it, because I believe that is not available to us in the hard item pool.
No, Half Magic is available in Hard Item Pool.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's actually available in Expert as well.
Intriguing.
Yeah, I believe it's because logically you can need it for certain checks.
Okay. Yeah, so hard item mode works is that the item pool for swords and items and progression items in general is just the same, but there is a limit to how many of those progression items are allowed to be on the player at any one point. So, for example, for our Aghanim Ledge, we had one of our bows there. We found a second one in the mushroom spot. That other bow turned into a green pile of 20 rupees because we are not allowed to have silver arrows for hard item pool. I believe you are allowed to have silver arrows, but those in hard item pool, but only if it's swordless. Because let's be real, hammering in phase 4 Ganon, not fun. Map check. It's Argus here in the end of Turtle Rock. And I believe that means with Moth notwithstanding, we have seen every other boss in this game. So we will be seeing at least one, if not two duplicates going up GT. Now, I believe with the restrictions there, I believe there was a restriction on the Lambo 2 arena. I believe Blind cannot be there because of things. There's a sword for Andy, though, at Mimic Cave. That is go mode. 118 and 55, I'd say.
Yeah, the Moldorm 2 arena has the same restrictions as the Moldorm 1.
That's right. The Lambo 2 arena, though, I believe has exclusive restriction to that Blind can't be there because of how that whole setup of rooms work in the underworld.
You might be right on that.
I believe there was a specific case because of like super tile shenanigans that a boss was locked out of the Lammola 2 arena.
I know that the Lambo 2 arena can do some weird things. Like with Argus, you don't have to kill the main body because once it jumps off screen, the door triggers.
Yeah, and I believe Trinex is the same way.
I've seen some weird things with Trinex in the Lambo 2 arena. If you can bait Trinex out of the room, the door will open, but then Trinex might come after you.
Yeah. Anyway, here we go with Andy heading to Laser Ridge here. Still needs to find a key, and maybe he'll still open up some other chests here to try to find himself a tempered sword. Another heart container, though. There's tempered. All right, that means our last sword is at the pedestal, and there's the last of our keys. So there we go. Andy is fully geared up for the GT climb. What a way to end off 2022 here on Speed Gaming. PlasmaKappa, meanwhile, is finishing off Trinex here in Desert. And poke strats for Argus. Very nicely done. Both bosses following at the same time. And that is 10 arrows there. And that is the 7th crystal of the game, folks. You know what time it is if you've been a fan of the Link to the Past randomizer. I see some numbers flying on the chat already. Hey, tell us what chest you think the big key's going to be in. JP, what do you think it's going to be?
I'm gonna go with my usual 15.
Let's have the CB kind of. Let's have it early. Let's have it at chest location number 3.
This might be the swamp play for Kappa, who's at 6 crystals now, but yeah, at this point, significantly behind.
Yeah, doesn't like it. Anyway, get your kisses in quick, folks. To be clear, I'm not calling charge. I'm calling whatever the third chest is open. If that happens to be torch, so be it. First chest, Smokey. Second chest, half magic. Good find. Going straight to right side here. Third chest, oh, I'm out. It's three bombs. Fourth chest, 20 rupees. Fifth chest, Green pile of 20 rupees. 6 chests is the magic cave. Well, therein tells us everything we need to know about this being an Agam Seed. Absolutely impossible.
Yep, 3 swords locked behind hammer, as well as the cape.
And we have a compass there. That won't help us find out what bosses we have left to go. I believe that was check number 7, so we're going to go to 8, 9, 10, and 11 here on Stalfos Room. Three bombs. 20 rupees. The shovel. And a small key. And to answer question chat, yes, the compass does not tell you the bosses here in GT because technically the boss of GT is Aghanim 2. The others are just mini bosses. And both Aghanims and Ganon are not shoveled in boss shuffle. They will always be the same. All right, chest number 13 was only 20 rupees here as we enter the rando room, aptly named. I believe this will be 14, 15, 16, 17. 14, 15, 16! Big Key was in number 16.
Kappa has found Bombos, just in sword mode, gonna make the same checks that Andy made, but at this point it's Andy's climb.
Scrolling up in the chat, and I see that we did have someone guess that in the Sleeping Engineer, so congrats to you. All right, Kappa now out of Swamp Palace as we ascend GT here. Nice little flick shot there with the bow. I never thought of doing that. Saving a little bit of time there. Kappa wasting no time heading straight to Turtle Rock. This is the correct play. As we begin the gauntlet here, with Hinox as part of it. Now, Hinox died immediately to bombs, but with the Tempered Sword, Andy's just going to opt to slash them repeatedly.
Okay, this is where you consider using medallions if some of these rooms start to look really bad.
Yeah, half magic bombos would definitely work for this. Red guards here, very aggressive enemies. These whip ice and treadmills. This is not a good room to see. Andy getting through, though, quite nicely. More guards. Yeah, he's going to just bombos here. Wisely doing this. And coming up here, we have in the ammo room, it is another Vitreous. That's our second duplicate boss. Now, I forget, JP, but I believe Mothula is not one of the ones allowed in the Moldorm 2 arena, if I'm correct. Yes?
No, Mothula is allowed in that arena.
Ah, okay. I forget which ones aren't. I know Trinex isn't allowed, at least.
Trinex is not, Blind's not, Armos, Landmo, and who's the last one? I can't remember the last one right now. Oh, Argus isn't allowed in there.
Hmm.
So if we see Moth in there, then we don't know what was in the basement. If we see any other boss there, then Moth had to be on Ice Armos.
Well, we don't know what pod was, do we?
Actually, no, we don't. Good point.
So yeah, if we see Moth, then we know that the other. Then we know that another duplicate is out there somewhere. That poor guard. And there we go. There's our Moth sighting. And Andy, being Andy, just gonna hover across that gap and say nope. So
yeah,
another buff could showed up at Ice Armos or Pod, and then another or duplicate boss could have been elsewhere.
which other boss did we not see then?
We saw at least one of every boss.
We did not see, we never saw Landmill. That's what we didn't see.
Oh yeah, you're right. We never did see Landmolas. I completely forgot. Anyway, that looks to be a solid double there for Andy. And another. Oh, this looks pretty good. Oh, the double was a double hit, so it didn't count. So it's a 1-2-2-1 here for Andy. But well done all the same. It is time for him to fight Ganon. This will very likely put him 2-0 here for his team going into the new year. And here we go with the Ganon fight here. Silvers are not on the table at all because of the hard item pull, so this will be a silverless fight. 12 slashes or 6 spins a phase. Poke dashes are going to count. Another here for normal damage. Getting another slash here for good measure. And already a 1-to-1 onto phase 3. Excellently done. PlasmaKappa did skip Mimic, so he's not going to be getting his third sword. All right, one more hit and enter phase 3 here.
What's Ganon's funny text? I haven't seen that one.
Right, he says something funny in a hard mode.
I mean, well, I guess if you're looking at Ocarina of Time, he does transform, but not necessarily under the moonlight.
No, I believe in Ocarina of Time he uses the power of the Triforce of Power.
But technically, Link turns into a wolf.
Yes, but that was, again, not by his own volition. That was the power of Twilight. Anyway, Ganon is down. And we'll get your Jesus in chat for Andy, who will be winning this race here and making his team go 2-0 in the league playoffs for this match. Andy crosses the finish line with a time of 1:33.22.
And Kappa forfeit pretty much immediately.
Yes. Well done overall for both of our runners, though. Good race, all things considered. So we'll be joined here by them shortly. Really a good race, all things considered. And we are now joined by PlasmaKappa here. Good effort on this race, Ace and GG's.
GG's. Yeah, well, it seems like I'm not allowed to get a sword ever.
Well, we did know where all four were at the end.
Yeah.
Because you got there was one early. You got one out of Laser Bridge, one on Ped. The other was in Mimic Cave.
Oh, naturally.
Yeah, we saw Andy pick it up. He finished this week with Tempered.
Oh, I figured I was pretty much dead at that point. You know, casually last locating Swamp. I want to try to juke that third sword from the overworld and it never shows up. There's only It's only 3. You miss one and there's no silver, so life might be difficult.
Yeah, the Flippers were in a particularly rude place, though, to be fair. The seed was kind of mean with the overall logic string.
Yeah. Would be even ruder if I actually had to get the Flippers the intended way.
Yeah, both of you decided, nope, I'm gonna just do the Skull Woods water walk.
Yep.
But it looks like we are not going to be seeing Andy here, but Chi sees him all the same.
Yeah, apparently some people don't do Pendant Easter Palace first. Just ram right in. You know, I can jump down to Sash afterwards. Sash shouldn't have anything.
Yeah, this will be... This team was just great here, but your team is still not out yet. You still got your wisdom match coming up here tomorrow, and then of course if you can somehow manage to stay alive here, you have the game 4, which you can flip the script and get there. And we are actually joined by Andy here, so I was apparently wrong. GG's to you, sir, and well done.
Oh, GG's.
GG's.
I totally spaced out and was just sitting at my computer watching football and forgot there's an interview section of this.
Well, I suppose there's worse things that could happen. But yeah, so let's talk about the early game here a little bit here. So I believe, Andy, you started with some Mario dip down into Zelda Cell, and that ended up rewarding you quite a bit with the early glove.
Yeah, this early game felt really, really good. I got that glove early, which let me do back of escape right after for that hook shot, which let me do South Shore early for the flute. And then getting Mitts and Pearl and Cack, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do dungeons because I only have a sword and an ice rod. So we're going to do all of Death Mountain. And so I got boots right after that. Like, early game felt really, really good. Then the middle was just kind of like, Fire Rod shows up. We're missing, like, medallions and hammer, maybe. And then it was kind of a gross sequence to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, with flippers, I believe, on Magic Bat, as we mentioned already.
Yeah, that was gross, having to logically lock yourself behind that peg to get your flippers, to get your hammer, is stupid.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, maybe Andy did it this way. Maybe he spent time in Swamp, then I don't have to spend time in... I have to spend time in there.
Yeah, I was a little worried about Swamp, because I was like, all right, the flippers have to be, like, somewhere not terrible. And then I got that mirror from Desert, and I immediately left to go get the hammer. And then did Desert into Hera, because I didn't really want to go into Ice Palace yet. And then got that ether from Spike Cave, and I was like, okay, well, the flippers definitely have to be somewhere that's available like right now.
Yeah. We should have got the hammer before you ran to the back of Desert Palace.
Oh yeah, I with the mirror, like knowing like where the hammer was, there was basically no reason for me to go to the boss yet. I was like, if this is a Tridex, I'm gonna regret it real bad.
I believed. I should not have believed.
And thankfully, the late game of the sea could have been a lot worse, considering we had an unknown sword on the pedestal. And Andy, I don't think you actually was able to scout this, considering how early the bow was, but the other bow was actually at Lumberjack Ledge.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I checked that after boots. So I just saw a green 20. I was like, cool. Yeah, like the whole time, I'm looking for Bombos and a sword, and I'm like, dude, just give me one sword before Bombos, please. Like, not a repeat of last time. With my my match against Ravis in round 1, I was looking for a sword exclusively for like 30 minutes, I think, and that was not fun.
Yeah. Seeing that bow was a curse. It made me overclear not to skip a random one-off sword. Because I'm not going to get bailed out by silvers.
Yeah. And yeah, like, going into, with sword go mode, and, knowing it's hard, you're not getting any males, like maybe you'll find half magic, but we didn't have half magic or cape going into, like, the final crystal dungeon. So it's like, man, it's going to be another, like, really rough Master Sword Silverless Ganon, and, like, even the best players can kind of spiral into dying against that fight. So I was very happy with the tempered pull on Laser Bridge.
Yeah, all that, and I managed to skip tempered anyway.
Yeah, well, GG's to you once again, and this was, of course, the last race between you two, at least for 2022. And hopefully you guys will have a good comeback here, Tile Roomies. He's just trying to make this an interesting series here. And then, of course, Andy, you and your Team Pugs will be looking to close things up tomorrow here when we go to 2023.
Yep, go Airy.
Go Walsh.
But I would love, like, having a clean sweep is like fine and whatever, but I just want to do a co-op Retrance again. That's all I want. Once in the playoffs. So, like, if it's now, like, cool, fending off the reverse sweep is nice, and it's a good story, But yeah, can we just do, like, co-op Retrance game 1 next season?
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, GG's Kappa. I gotta go get some dinner before New Year's Eve things this evening. Thanks for Common, you two, and thanks for track and restream and all that jazz.
Yep. GG's, Andy. Thank you all for the production.
Alright, folks. Like we mentioned, there is no more Elite as Randomizer League matches here tonight. The next match will be at 11 a.m. on the ALTTPR League. And actually, JP, we should probably mention something, shouldn't we?
Yeah, so yeah, this is the final SG Restream of 2022. So the channels will be not hosting any live races, but we'll be having some vodcasts tomorrow. But we do want to thank Speed Gaming for hosting the league this year, and we're looking forward to more hosting as we go into 2023.
Indeed. Thank you, Speed Gaming, as well. And hopefully we'll have a great set of matches coming up. Not just here at the Link to Best Randomizer League, but across all of the content that Speed Gaming provides. It's for in terms of races. And of course, folks, make sure to follow our two runners here tonight. They put on an excellent race for us. Make sure to follow our tracker, Evelyn, and make sure to follow my co-counter, JP. And Speed Gaming at Speed Gaming 2 through 6. You don't miss any racing action, not just the Link to Best Randomizer League. Speed Gaming also provides foreign restream languages in, I believe, French, and Spanish, German, and Portuguese. I believe there is a couple more. I don't remember. But make sure you follow those as well if that is your preferred speaking language. And of course, make sure to follow the ALTTPR League and the ALTTPR League 2 through 4. We have another match, like I said, coming up very early in the morning and come tomorrow. But for all of us here at A Link to Past Randomizer League, I have been Wolfling0370, and we just see you all next time. Thanks for watching, and have a good new year, everyone.